and welcome to For the Love of Nature, a podcast where we tell you everything you need to know about nature and probably more than you wanted to know. I'm Laura.
And I'm Katy. And today we are going to do another, I would say deep dive, but this one's going to be really short.
A superficial dive.
Yeah, superficial.
Into another taxon. Superficial dive.
Superficial dive. And we are going to be talking about protists.
Yes, so we were going to talk about how protists are essential to life on Earth. So as a quick refresher for everybody, we said that we wanted to kind of make our way through different taxons of animals and, taxons of living things.
Yeah.
So all life can be categorized into 8 levels, each getting more and more specific. We previously covered bacteria, which is a domain, and that's the highest level of life, and fungi, which is a kingdom, aka the second highest level. So taxonomy is complicated and constantly changing. Things are always, people are discovering things, they're lumping things together, they're splitting them apart, but we're kind of making our way from the top down.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about Protista, which is a catch-all group. So protists, which are either a kingdom level grouping called Protista, which is under the domain eukaryote, and those are living things that have cells with a nucleus, or people sometimes consider them several kingdoms of stuff, depending on the scientist you ask, because Protista is a catch-all group for any eukaryote that isn't a plant, animal, or fungi. Like, that's the definition.
Yeah.
Which
which is a catch-all group. Thank you for the definition.
Yeah. Literally just anything else. So they're all pretty different than one another, and there's no rule for what they all have in common. Most are single-celled. Even if they are multi-celled, they aren't multi-tissued. So that means,
it's one thing.
Right. One thing. They don't have, organs and things like that. Some are more like plants, while others are more like animals. Not all are microscopic. Some are. Some are mobile. Others aren't. And some scientists agree that this shouldn't be a kingdom at all, which definitely it should not be.
Yeah, I don't think it should be.
Because they're nothing alike.
Nope.
It's a
catch-all.
Shoved under your bed.
Yes, yeah. It is. It is a catch-all.
I don't know what they are, so we'll just say this.
Yeah.
But because of genetics and stuff, we're learning more and more about these guys, and so really I think we're getting to the point where we could come up with some more kingdoms.
I think we could.
So there are anywhere from 60,000 to 200,000 species lumped in this category.
Ooh, that's a lot.
Yeah, and they can be broken into 3 groups. There's the protozoans, which are the animal-like ones. Those are things like amoebas, ciliates, flagellates, a couple of other things. Then there's the protophytas, which are the plant-like ones. That's things like algae, diatoms, and a few others. And then there's the fungi-like ones, which are slime molds and water molds. So at least there should be 3 different kingdoms in here. The protozoans, the protophytas, and the fungi-like ones. So as I said, they're all super different. So I'm just going to talk about some characteristics that some of them may have that stood out to me. So the ones that are photosynthetic create their own nutrients from the sun like plants do. Though the equipment that they do this with may be a little bit different than plant cells.
Yes.
Ones that are heterotrophic, which means ones that need to eat other things, like how animals need to eat, they can be broken down into 2 groups. So, when we think about eating other things, we're thinking, we eat plants, we eat meat. Well, these guys have different ways of feeding because we're talking about single-celled organisms here. So there are ones that we call phagotrophs, meaning that they surround and swallow things, like an amoeba. They'll, surround the whole thing and then just
eat it.
Yeah. Then there's the osmotrophs, and they're the ones that just absorb stuff from their surroundings.
Because why not?
The lazy ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. They don't hunt. They literally just absorb what's around them. And then there are some, I thought this was cool, there are some that are both photosynthetic and heterotrophic, and so they are called mixotrophs. Original, I know.
Right?
Mixotrophs.
Good job, scientists. Being lazy.
Yeah. Some produce asexually, which means that they just split, through, binary fission or some other ways, and others are sexual, and some could even do both. Many can move around using either cilia, which kind of look like undulating hairs, or flagella, which look like little tails and makes them kind of look like tadpoles, although they can have multiple of them. Or they can move around using pseudopods, which I love that word, and that means like squishy feet, essentially. And that's the things that amoebas have. So they kind of like stretch out a foot, pull themselves along, stretch out a foot, pull themselves along.
Which is weird, but then cute at the same time.
Yeah, I think amoebas are kind of cute. So that is the different types that there are, ish, and the different characteristics.
And when you say ish, we really mean ish, because that's why it really is a catch-all group. Right. It is, and I remember learning about these in college, but I don't think I realized like how haphazardly these ones were thrown together.
And I think that is because like we're realizing more and more like they're not at all alike.
Yeah.
Like And right, like, are they a domain? Are they a kingdom?
I think, like you said before, I think that
or
scientists,
are they one kingdom or several, I should say.
And I think we're far enough along of learning and knowing about them that one, we should be able to put these either in different groups, where if we figure out, okay, we know a little bit more about them, we can put them over here, and kind of divide this group up a little bit more, because it is just a really bizarre.
Yeah, group. Well, because some of them are more related to like a plant than they are to each other.
100%.
They should not be in the same group.
Not at all.
Not even related.
Yeah, not at all.
And if you look up some like trees of life or like some taxon charts, they have broken them down into several kingdoms. Some have broken them down into several kingdoms, but this is not like a consensus across the board. You can still find Kingdom Protista. Yep. And then other people are like, Protista does not exist.
Yeah.
So it kind of depends on who you ask. But I think basically single-celled organisms that aren't plants, fungi, or animals. But are like all of them. A lot of scientists think that this might be the first eukaryotic cells.
The first.
Like, probably this is where animal, plant, fungi life came from. Ish.
Which would make sense, but at the same time, divide them up a little bit.
Simpler to more and more complicated.
Yeah.
So, Katie, what purpose do they serve? Should we even care about amoebas?
Holy crap, you only have 7 minutes. We're only 7 minutes.
Hey man, it's a short one.
It is going to be a very short one. All right.
We said a superficial dive.
It is very superficial because one, even though they are very diverse, there's really not a whole lot to talk about them.
Without going
really deep.
But because they're so different, I feel like it'd be hard to go really...
It would be, because it's so drastically different. They would be so drastically different.
We gotta break it down into multiple episodes.
We would have to.
I think. Yeah. Maybe at some point. Like, because I think protozoans are really cool. I'd love to know and talk more about amoebas and maybe not like water molds and slime molds, but protozoans.
Yeah, would be cool. It's just these ones aren't. All right, so what is...
talking about the highest level of it.
Yes. Yeah. All right, so what is the purpose and function of these guys? If they are so diverse, again, they kind of are a catch-all, so their purpose and function is a catch-all. So... one of their jobs functions is they are primary producers / food sources for a lot of things. And once I start talking about this a little bit, you'll be like, oh, I see where these kind of fit in. So they are essential food source and provide nutrition for many other organisms. In some cases, example, zooplankton, which are protists, they are consumed directly by a number of sea animals. There are even photosynthetic protists that serve as producers of nutrition for other organisms. Paramecium barceri. I don't know. Yeah. And several other species of ciliates are mixotrophic, like Laura was saying, due to their symbiotic relationship with green algae. This is a temporary version of the secondary endosymbiotic chloroplast found in euglena. Whatever euglena is.
Euglena is an organelle in a cell.
I thought you were just... Oh, the euglena. I was like, oh, what do you have against the Gleena?
Yeah, you Gleena.
Yeah.
No, I was just making me think, though, that you were talking about, like, the zooplankton, the phytoplankton. I feel like there's a magic school bus that I always think about whenever I think about zooplankton and phytoplankton, because I think they become them to learn about the food chain, maybe, or something.
Oh, really?
I don't know. But talking about how some of them, like zooplankton, are, like, microscopic, but, not all of them are. For example, that brown algae can be like 137 feet long. And that
so
is considered
gross.
a protist.
Really?
So, like, you go from, like...
Oh, true, I guess so, yeah.
To, like...
Which is so disgusting.
Giant. Yeah.
Ew. Anyway.
But things eat the algae, and so, again, bottom of the food chain. Whether it be the plants or the animals.
Yep, and...
Plant-like or animal-like.
Plant-like, yes. And so, there's another one called Zuzanolil.
Oh, Susanna!
So they provide nutrients for coral polyps, which, I mean, we all need coral polyps. Well, I mean,
you said that like it was a known fact. Oh, we all need coral polyps. I've never used a coral polyp in my life.
The oceans do. But that actually gives the corals a boost of energy, which help them to grow, of course. And so, again, food. Because they are so small. Let's see here.
I love looking at things under a microscope. Like,
it is really fun, yeah.
Like the bacteria and stuff are like, kind of cool, but they don't move. But like when you look at things and you can see things moving around.
Yes.
It's the
way cooler
things. Super cool.
So with those coral polyps, though, for these protists, zooxanthil, whatever, the corals in turn provide the protists with a protected environment and the compounds needed for photosynthesis. So it is like kind of a mutual symbiotic relationship. So it works out for both of them. They eat and then also find a home there. Yes, here it is. So the other thing, unfortunately, human pathogens.
Lovely.
Right?
That's what I want.
Right. A human pathogen. So even though it's not a good function and it's not a good purpose, this is still what they do. So anything, I feel like everything we talk about ends up leading back to something ends up being a disease. But
you're a disease.
Right? So many things are like, oh, that can kill you.
That's nature, man.
It really is. All right, so let me give you some examples here. So one of the protists is Plasmodium, which is...
I was just going to say malaria.
Malaria.
Like the most famous.
Yep. So in 2015, the WHO reported over 200 million cases of malaria, mostly in Africa, South America, and Southern Asia. However, it's not well known that malaria was also prevalent disease in north central region of the United States, particularly in Michigan, with its thousands of lakes and numerous swamps. Yeah, which makes sense, which I didn't know. All right, so prior to the Civil War and the drainage of many of those swamps, virtually everyone who immigrated to Michigan picked up malaria.
Whoa!
Yeah, didn't know.
Didn't know.
Let's see here. And it says, and the pale, sallow, bloated faces of that period were the rule.
Lovely.
Right?
The malaria face.
The only healthy faces were worn by those immigrants who had just arrived, which is insane that it's like that commonplace. You're like, oh, you're an out-of-towner because you not look diseased. Like,
yeah, you look healthy.
You look healthy. You must not be
from out of town.
Yeah, you must be from out of town. Yeah. So I didn't know that.
Vampires.
So gross.
Malaria, there's a no joke.
No, it's not. And we do know that malaria is caused by several different species within the Protist genus Plasmodium. So there are different members of Plasmodium which require both a mosquito and a vertebrate to complete their life cycle of this Protist. In vertebrates, the parasite develops in liver cells and goes to infect the red blood cells, bursting from and destroying the blood cells with each asexual reproduction cycle. Yeah, which is nuts here. Another one is called trypanosoma, which is a big one, which is this tsetse fly in Africa.
Oh, the sleeping sickness.
Yep. In Africa, related to flies in South America, and is phalanged endoparasitic, responsible for the deadly disease Nagana, I don't know, in cattle and horses, and for African sleeping sickness in humans. So it causes one thing in cattle and horses, and then something completely different in humans. The trypanosome confounds the human immune system by changing its thick layer of surface glycoproteins with each infectious cycle. So the trypanosoma has thousands of possible antigens, and with each subsequent generation, the protein switches to a glycoprotein coating with a different molecular structure. So
I feel like this is where we've lost people. They're like, okay, what?
Yeah. So it's capable of replicating continuously without the immune system ever succeeding in clearing the parasite, is the important part of all that. Right. So we're like a virus. Your body recognizes a virus because it's a protist, because it is like an animal-ish thing.
Yeah. It's
changing. And that one, trypanosomes, they just keep changing and can't figure it out.
We're in disguises.
Right, yeah. And so there's also plant parasites that we have that causes a bunch of different mildews. But
like the brain-eating amoebas.
For protists?
Yeah. Well,
are they protists?
Protist.
Yeah, I guess true.
Yeah, like there's some brain-eating ones that you get from like the water or raccoon poop.
Yep. So another function that they serve, which is this one's actually important. Diseases, maybe not so much, but population control. I don't know.
Yeah.
But decomposers. So again, because they are a catch-all, there are proteins.
That's important.
Yeah. Also, there are fungus-like protists, saprons, which are specialized to absorb nutrients from non-living organic matter, such as dead organisms or their waste. For instance, many types of
Well, I said the slime molds and the water molds.
Well, it's the oomycetes. Oomycetes. Remember those? There's like the oomycetes and the oomycetes grow on dead animals or algae. Saprodic protists have an essential function of returning inorganic nutrients to soil and water. So that one is important.
Decomposers are always important.
Always. Well, minus some. Well, I wouldn't say all decomposers are important. I guess they're important. Whether we want them around or not is another question.
Yeah.
Okay, so why are these guys important? Okay, so we have the decomposers and everything, but protists also play an important role within the environment because scientists are saying that of the plant-like ones, the plant-like protists produce almost half the oxygen that's found on Earth through photosynthesis.
That's right. That's crazy, because they always say it's from the plants in the ocean, but they mean like the phytoplankton in the ocean.
the protists of it, not just like, yeah. So while we're all running around trying to save the trees, save the protists. Yeah. Save the protists.
Save the phytoplankton.
Yeah, right? So not only like acting as decomposers and help in recycling nutrients to the ecosystems, but I mean supplying...
And of course being
food, they supply a heck of a ton of oxygen that we need. So that's the importance of them.
Literally couldn't survive without them.
Yeah, I mean, minus the disease part of them, we could probably survive.
That we would
literally
survive.
Yeah, literally.
Yeah. But life on Earth essential. They are essential to life on Earth because at least of the oxygen, at the very least. Why are you important?
The oxygen of it. Small things. So anyway, is there anything else you wanted to add? I know we're going to keep this episode short, but like we were saying before, it's either we go a deep dive, and it's just so different. So we either deep dive or keep it at surface level.
Deep dive about the specifics.
Yes, of each one of them.
Right, which I think, again, like we can, just like we dove into fungi, that's fine.
And we're going to keep...
dive into some other things.
And we're going to keep doing these guys too. Like, so yeah, we didn't want to like totally, because you guys might be thinking, well, if you guys didn't have a whole lot of content for this one, why'd you throw it out? Well, because we can't talk about it in depth. Like we can't go down to that next level if we didn't already give you the overview of it.
We need to give you guys the base knowledge.
Yes, right? Or else whenever we say, oh, it's a protist, you'd be like, what the heck is that, Katie? Like, that doesn't make any sense. Well, we've already told you what it is.
Please see episode this one.
Protist. Yeah, because we can't...
Episode protist.
Because we can't keep track of any of these anymore. We're too far in now. All right, did you have anything else?
That was your, no, that was their daily dose of science for the day.
There you go.
For the week, probably. I think probably for the week.
For the week.
People.
Yeah.
Or just the word glycoproteins probably made some people's eyeballs glaze over.
It's important, though. It's important. All right, everybody. Well, go check us out on Patreon and support us so we can keep talking about glycoproteins. No.
Yeah, but we have a guest coming up here soon, and multiple guests coming up.
I'm
excited about.
Yeah, and we have a lot of fun things planned, so go check us out on Patreon. Support us, because then we can get better equipment, better platforms for online, for hosting and everything, hopefully. So, go support us, and then we can just keep bringing you more things not about glycoprotein. There you go. Support us so you don't have to hear about glycoproteins again. All right, talk to you guys all next week.
Bye, everyone.